Hello and welcome to the Film Pulse Podcast. This is episode number 422. My name is Adam Patterson. With me today, we've got Kevin Rakestraw. Hey, Kevin.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going all right. How's it going with you?
I'm a little tired. I literally, 30 minutes before sitting down to record this, I got back from vacation, and it's been a long couple days of travel. So
Ooh.
it's been very tiring, but I'm glad to be home. And hopefully I'll be able to just relax for the rest of the day and recuperate. But I had a good vacation, so all good there. This week on the show, we'll be taking a look at the indie horror film Hellbender, which is currently making the rounds in multiple film festivals. I believe it's playing Fantasia, Fantastic Fest, maybe, I don't know if it's on Nightstream, because they just announced the Nightstream lineup. And I'm not sure if it's included in that. And then Grimfest, I'm not sure if it's on that either, but I know that it's really, pretty prevalent.
Yeah,
Also be... Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that's the reason we picked this one. Or at least I was more on it, because it was everywhere. It's everywhere.
It is, yep. It's a very popular festival release. We'll also be going over some of what we've been watching, including some of the stuff that I've been checking out at Fantastic Fest this year. And we'll also be going over this week's new releases in theaters, VOD, and Blu-ray. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Please remember to review us on iTunes if you get a moment. That would be super helpful. With that, I believe that we can jump into our Hellbender review. Now, this is directed by John Adams, Zelda Adams, and Toby Poser. I have a synopsis here. A lonely teen discovers her family's ties to witchcraft. Now, if you think that that's interesting that there's three directors here, there's also three writers. It's a family-made film. I almost said it's a family film. It's not a family film, but it's a film made by a family. So you have Zelda Adams is the daughter of Toby Poser and John Adams, and Lulu Adams, their other daughter, is also in this. So it's a whole family business, really, which is cool. I think that's a really cool thing that they can, work on these movies together. If you saw their last movie was called The Deeper You Dig, which came out a couple years ago, and I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed that one. Really, it was like a lo-fi thriller, but it had some really cool ideas in it. And you can see that on, I believe, Arrow. That's on the Arrow streaming service. I know that, 'cause that's where I watched it.
Also on Shudder.
Is it on Shudder?
And Amazon Prime. And, most importantly, Tubi.
Of course. I do recommend checking out The Deeper You Dig. Now, Hellbender is a little bit more ambitious. They definitely are trying to make bigger scale projects. We'll start with you, Kevin. What were your initial impressions of Hellbender?
Well, I did not see their previous film, so I didn't know what to expect. I did know about them because of you talking about their previous film. I was kind of hooked on what this is, which is kind of like a coming of age tale type thing, but with witchcraft, which is an interesting enough idea in and of itself. But I was really surprised, how ambitious this is and how good it looks in terms of the micro budget that they're working with. This actually looks really great in a lot of spots.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other spots where you can tell that they have some limitations, but I never thought that it looked
amateurish or family project. Let's make a movie together as a family. We're stuck inside, because this was shot during COVID too. This was shot during lockdown, so that, I think, introduces challenges in and of itself as well.
Well, let's just say they have a great location in order to shoot this during the pandemic, because this location is fucking insane. It's so gorgeous, and they do a great job of shooting it too. There is some great landscape photography in here. It's just, just an incredible location.
I'm realizing very recently that any movies that take place in like lush, thick green forests, and
Oh
especially
yeah,
have like little
burn.
like cabins tucked away in the forest and stuff like that, where it's like like a light drizzle in the forest and everything feels alive, and like you have those great shots where it's like looking up through the trees, you know. Like I definitely have a soft spot for that, I'm realizing,
Yeah,
because there's another movie that I'll mention in a little bit that does almost the exact same thing, and that pretty much blew me away too as far as the visuals. So
yeah. I'm pretty much hooked if you have a shot of a character kind of tucked in and completely surrounded by verdant giant ferns.
mm-hmm.
Just that's an automatic star. That's extra credit right
Yeah,
there.
just wait till you hear me talk about this other movie. You're gonna lose your mind probably.
I
But
look forward to it.
with just to pause you real quick, I completely agree with you that I was surprised. Like I think I did read somewhere that maybe it was in the description of this in the Fantastic Fest like blurb. I think that I read that it was like a more ambitious title for them than The Deeper You Dig. So I was kind of expecting that. But the thing is, like, The Deeper You Dig is really impressive too in what they were able to do with like special effects and stuff on basically no budget. And this movie, they really outdo themselves. I mean, this is like a very professional looking movie, and like you said, a lot of it is gorgeous, and a lot of the special effects in this look really good. I mean, and not just like kind of there's like some kind of trippy, almost like psychedelic scenes in it, and those look fine too, but just a lot of the other sequences too, like just all of the different like rituals and spells and stuff. And then like when there's like some scenes where they like kill people, and the way that looks is awesome. I mean, just really impressive all around with the visuals and the special effects too. Like I was very impressed.
Yeah, there's a number of things in here where you're like, oh, okay, this is like legit.
Yeah.
This is legit craftsmanship on a very small budget.
Yeah. One thing that I'll say, I do have some criticisms with this. I think that this family, I think that they're very clearly non-professional actors. So they were also in The Deeper You Dig. At least Toby Poser and John Adams were. I can't remember if Zelda Adams was. I think she was. Yeah, she was in that too. She was the missing daughter, I believe. In fact, I know she was. So I don't think that they're the best actors. I think that they have a little bit of work to like sort of hone their craft as far as dialogue and line delivery and stuff. They're fine. Like it's passable, but it feels like that kind of low budget indie non-professional actor type of movie.
Yeah. Yeah. But I will give them the bonus that they do seem to talk to each other like normal human
Yeah,
beings.
because they're
Which is
an
so
actual
nice.
yeah. Yeah,
Which is nice.
indeed. Yeah. I mean the mother-daughter dynamic here is really good.
It's great. Yeah, it's really good.
I mean, it's obviously it's believable, but the way that
Yeah, very
the way that it's written is also feels natural. So just the dialogue in and of itself feels natural. I love that they're in a little like mother-daughter metal band, and apparently from what I read that like they wrote and performed those songs themselves, and so I think that that's really cool as well.
Yeah, they do it all.
Yeah,
And they do it all rather well.
They're an incredibly talented bunch. I'll give them that. And they do some like, despite I think their acting abilities being a little bit lacking, they still do some pretty wild stuff in this movie, like some pretty gross stuff. Especially like every time the mom served dinner, I'm like, is that actual food? Like, is that edible? Like, you're eating like pine cones and twigs and shit. Like,
Well, I think at one point they were eating like raspberry stalks.
yeah,
Which
they were.
that's yeah,
Like
Those are prickly.
it was
That's
like
terrible. Don't do that.
I think it was the one scene when she was like she sort of had a vision that she was like eating a finger, and it was actually a raspberry stalk. It's just like, I don't think either of those two things are
like
edible,
a little
really.
Just a little 2-inch stalk.
Yeah, this is
a raspberry plant.
I liked the presentation, like the plating.
Yeah,
I thought that it looked really great. It looked like something that you would see in like one of those like rustic, like fancy restaurants where they like cook they cook everything by like burying it in the ground, you know, and then digging it up and serving it to you that way. And I just put like twigs and pine cones and shit on the side as like garnish.
Yeah, that was the other thing. I think their one meal was a pine cone.
It was. I like the idea of just eating pine cones as a meal. What's wrong? You haven't touched your pine cone.
At least season it. Something.
Yeah, put some Mrs. Dash on there, for God's sake. Yes, so I really enjoyed the mother-daughter dynamic here, and I think that also it does. I think that it's a movie that's well paced in that you're learning more about her background and her abilities and all of that stuff as she's discovering them. And the other thing that's I think is great is like a lot of times you'll have a movie like this where it's like, oh, it turns out she's a witch, but you don't really get to see like they're a witch, but they're not like, you know, like a fantasy witch. You know what I mean? Like they might be able to like do some spells or something and maybe it'll affect somebody, but these women are like legit, like they have superpowers just straight up.
Yeah.
And I really liked that they decided to make them like super powerful. I think that was a cool idea.
I love the fact, and I think this is the thing that I like the most about this movie, outside of the effects looking as good as they do, is the fact that they might not have shown you all of it, but you can tell that they have this, like the history of this, like the generational history of the witches, what the witches can do, the various recipes that they have in order to create spells and gain new powers. Like this is really well thought out.
Yeah, they have the whole thing figured out. You can definitely tell that they know that they like mapped out the history, the family tree, as it were, like with this, because you do get that intro that sort of sets the stage, and then there's all these other like hints about like their lineage and stuff like that, and then of course what happens at the end too, which I think was an interesting way to conclude the movie.
Yeah, which I also found really interesting in the terms of the coming of age. You know, you have the teenage daughter mother dynamic, but you know, as fraught as that can be just in the regular world, throw in the fact that they're both witches and one's learning of their power,
right,
and kind of using it in a different way, and like them trying to figure out, like, it's just good. This is a good movie. I really enjoyed this. I actually wanted more because it's so well thought out.
Yeah, I think that, well, first of all, you need to see The Deeper You Dig, because I think you're really going to like that one too. But I think I'm really excited to see what the Addams Family has coming next, because if they keep getting more, I mean, like, I was going to say if they keep getting more ambitious, it's just going to get better and better. But the thing is, like, this was like a perfect level of ambition for me, as far as like the level of special effects and stuff. Like, it all looked so good, like really impressive. I mean, that was one of the things that impressed me the most about Rob Savage's movies. He's the guy who did Host and this movie Dashcam that played Tiff, that's not out yet, but like he does the same thing where he's got these movies that are on like no budget, and yet he's somehow able to create these like really impressive looking special effects and things like that that put it to the next level. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what this family has coming out next, because They're pretty awesome.
Yeah. No, I definitely got to go back and watch the other one because I was completely surprised by this one.
Yeah, yeah. I liked it. I think I like this one more than The Deeper You Dig, but I still really liked. And the thing is, like, they're cool ideas too. Like, they're not just your normal, like, boring ass retreads of horror tropes. Like, they introduce unique ideas, and I think that that's one of the things that's so refreshing about their movies. Like, The Deeper You Dig was a really interesting take on a possession movie, and like, just when you think that you've seen it all with those, something like that comes out and you're just like, okay, this is definitely different. So yeah, I really like what this family's doing. I like that they're working within the horror genre too. I think that that's really cool. So hopefully we'll see plenty more of their stuff in the future. Let's go ahead and give this a score.
Scored up.
Yeah, I'm at like a man. I'm at like a 7.5 on this one.
I'm exactly right there with you. Same thing.
Yeah, good stuff. Definitely recommend checking it out. This is going to be streaming for the Night Stream Film Festival, which I believe starts October 8th. So if you go to nightstream.org, you can look at the schedule and see when this is screening, so you can rent it and watch it online for Night Stream. And if I remember correctly, the tickets are like really inexpensive for Night Stream. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it's basically like a collective of festivals. So like the Boston Underground Film Festival, Brooklyn Horror Film Festival, North Bend Film Fest, and the Overlook Film Festival. They basically combine forces and put on this online film festival. It'll be October 7th through the 13th, and I believe that all the proceeds are going to go to the filmmakers who have movies in the festival, and they're also going to be donating a portion of the money to, I believe, charity. So, yeah, check that out. I had a lot of fun at last year's. Last year's was a really good line. And just looking at this year's lineup, it looks very good, too. So, Hellbender, check it out. All right, let's talk about something we're watching. As I mentioned at the top of the show, I am covering Fantastic Fest right now, so I've been cranking out a lot of really cool Fantastic Fest stuff. Right after the in-person event, there is a Fantastic Fest at Home festival, which has a completely separate slate. There's some carryover there, but there's a whole different slate of films that are going to be on that. And then on top of that, we have Night Stream and Grimfest coming up next week as well. So lots of horror movies to cover. I already saw a lot. You can go to the site filmpulse.net and see my reviews that are up there currently. So for this episode, I'm just going to mention a couple of the highlights that I've seen so far. The first one being The Execution. This is directed by Lado Kvatanya. This is about a serial killer, loosely based on a true story of this guy who turned out to be one of Russia's most prolific serial killers. He murdered 54 confirmed people, but there could be more than that. Basically, what the film is about is an inspector who is tasked with bringing this person to justice, and it's a case that goes on for over a decade, and they get false leads. They at one point arrest the wrong person and throw the wrong person in jail. Like, they convict him and everything, and then they discover that this person's actually innocent. And then the movie picks up in 1991 when this inspector is interrogating this other man who he believes is the real killer. And It's awesome. Like, this movie, it reminds me a lot of Memories of Murder. It's got that same kind of aesthetic, that it's very dreary, it's rainy. Everything is like hyper real looking. And it takes place, so it jumps back and forth between the beginning of the case versus the present, which is 1991. So it'll jump back to like 1986, and it'll go to 1979, and then it'll go to 91, and it's told in this nonlinear way, but the way in which it's told is really awesome because it keeps certain truths hidden from you, so that it sort of, because it's told in a nonlinear way, when the big twists and reveals and all of that do happen, it's like it packs a much bigger punch. And where it goes, the different turns that it takes, it's pretty awesome. And I definitely recommend it. Again, this is called The Execution. Hopefully this will be coming out at some point this year, but this is a Fantastic Fest at home title, so you will be able to screen it online. And Kevin, you'll definitely like this one.
Nice. I look forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the Netflix horror movie No One Gets Out Alive.
How is this? I was wondering about this.
This is, I was surprised by this. I enjoyed it a lot. It's fairly standard for the most part. It's just an immigrant. This young woman comes to America, Cleveland specifically, and she has a job, and she's trying to save up enough money to get papers so she can get like an actual job. So in order to kind of, save some money, she ends up taking a room at this like boarding house. That seems off. There's only like one other person living there, and it's this big house and everything. And of course it's got, it's haunted. There's stuff going on. So you have what is kind of fairly straightforward stuff where it's just her in this boarding house with one other tenant. The guys in charge of the house are also there, and they seem a little bit off too. And you just have, ghosts and whatnot, right? You've seen it before. But the thing that I enjoyed is the turn that it takes at the end when it's kind of revealed as to what's happening in this house. It becomes something completely different, something that I didn't really expect it to be. So that it got bonus points for me in that it was surprising. It surprised me, which doesn't really happen too often with horror movies, especially a Netflix horror movie. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. I think that this is also one of those instances that I enjoy in the sense that you can plug in to the metaphor that's here, because it's, an immigration horror movie. So you can plug into the metaphor and enjoy it and get, a deeper meaning out of it. Or you can just turn that off completely and just go into it as a, entertainment film. And it works that way too.
Cool. I'll have to try to add this to my growing list of Halloween October watches to try to get through.
I'll be interested to see what you think of this.
Yeah. Again, that's No One Gets Out Alive, and that is on Netflix. The next one I saw at Fantastic Fest was VHS 94. This is, if you're not familiar, it's an anthology series. This is the fourth one in the series. It's been a while. It's been like, I want to say 6 years since the last one came out. And the last one was bad. Like, that was, I looked back at my review for the last one, VHS Viral, and I gave it half a star. I really hated it. I remember really not liking it. Thankfully, this one is way better. I mean, by better, this is the best VHS entry in the whole series. Like, this is the best one. The other VHS movies, like, I thought that they were fine, and there'd be like one standout segment, and then the rest of them would be blah, or there'd be one that was just really shit. With this one, they're all very solid. I don't think that there's any one that tops the Timo Gareth Evans one from VHS 2. The one with the cult, if you remember that one.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything here that tops that, but there are some that get very close. Particularly Ryan Prowse's segment, which is called Terror. That one is very interesting. It's sort of a vampire story, but it throws in this like right wing like militia group in there, and I really liked what they did with that one. Most of the segments are actually shot on VHS in this one, so
Okay.
it has this like really grimy, gritty, like low definition look to it, and that pretty much works in its favor. Timo comes back to direct one of the segments of this one, which is sort of like a Tetsuo the Iron Man / Machine Girl take, where it's about like most of the segment is a POV of this young woman who was kidnapped by this mad scientist, basically, who does these experiments and turns people into like half human, half machine. So there's sort of that element. There's some really cool visuals in his, but again, I thought that Ryan Prowse's was better. Chloe Akuno does a segment. Hers is good too. It's about it's a local news team who is reporting on this sightings of this rat man character, this humanoid creature who they believe lives in the sewers, and that goes to some really crazy, bonkers places. And Simon Barrett directs one. Simon Barrett's, I thought, was probably the weakest. It was fine, but there just wasn't much to it. And then there's a wraparound story that's directed by Jennifer Reeder, and that is quite good too. It sort of ties together all of the different segments. So I would say that as far as the visuals and things like that, that this one is definitely more cohesive. Like everything is sort of tied together in a better way. And I really liked Jennifer Reeder's the segments that she did, like that were in between the different tapes. Basically, the plot is that it's a SWAT team. They're doing what they believe to be some sort of contraband bust in this like warehouse, and when they bust in, they find that it's like basically this like crazy VHS cult. And remember, this takes place in 1994, so this is back when, you know, tape trading was all the rage. So you have this cult of like VHS fanatics that try to disseminate this like these crazy, you know, supernatural tapes. It's pretty cool. So yeah, I definitely recommend VHS 94. This will be on Shudder this Friday, so you can check it out on there.
I watched another pandemic shot film, and that's Ben Wheatley's In the Earth, which is currently playing on Hulu. This has it has the plot line that I thoroughly enjoy and I'm really into currently and over the last couple of years, which is there's a doctor who, along with his like park guide, go out into the woods. They're trying to get to a certain area, this little research area, because they're investigating the fungal like map underground of this this large forest, and the fungus brain or whatever, it takes up so much space, and they're looking into it. And of course this is happening in the middle of a pandemic, so they have to take all these precautions and everything. So you have an absolutely gorgeous location, this huge massive forest. You have some grisly horror because it is Ben Wheatley, just disgusting stuff going on. A lot of stuff with feet. Feet getting fucked up big time. Just a lot of flapping skin. Yep. So of course, there's a researcher who kind of loses it and figures that she can communicate with nature, or she's trying to communicate with this this large fungal brain, right? And her ex-husband is also out there, and he has a different way of going about it, which is essentially worshiping nature and kind of trying to communicate with it that way. She's taking the science approach. He's taking the more, the different approach there, and they end up like kind of getting trapped. And the fungus does communicate with them. All very interesting. And for a movie shot in the pandemic, it looks pretty good. But the main issue that I have with this is a lot of it, because there's a lot of psychedelics going on, as you can imagine with the fungus.
Mm-hmm.
So Ben Wheatley goes into his experimental cinema bag, and it's awful. Like his quote unquote experimental imagery is just horrid.
Ugh.
It is very amateurish. It looks like the work of like an 18-year-old that just discovered it. Like, oh, I'm gonna do fractals. It's rough. And of course you have like the ink, the colored ink being dropped into water. Ooh. And all that shit. And it's ugly. It's ugly as hell, and it happens a lot. And it just really, for me, it just kind of ruined it.
Really, that's why I haven't seen this, because I was afraid that that's what it was going to be. There'd be this heavy reliance on the surreal, like trippy mushroom scenes, and I wasn't having it.
I will say that it doesn't take up a lot. I mean, it gets a little bit heavy towards the end, but man, it's so bad looking.
That's unfortunate. That sucks. All right, well, that's In the Earth on Hulu, right?
Hulu.
All right, well, keeping with the sort of Mother Nature themes here, one movie that I saw at Fantastic Fest is called Glasshouse. It's like all one word, Glasshouse. Mm-hmm. So what this is about, it's a post-apocalyptic thriller that takes place after a pandemic, or actually during a pandemic. And, excuse me, basically it's a toxin in the air that gives you dementia. So if you breathe in the air outside, you begin to lose all of your memories. And if you continue to be exposed to it, you basically just become a nothing, just a husk. Like you can't do anything. But if you're exposed to it for just a little bit, you might forget some things, but remember most things. So there's different degrees based on how long you've been exposed to it. But, and as far as we know, the entire world is like just being ravaged by this horrific airborne toxin. But in the woods, like tucked away, there's a house that's made of glass. And in it is a family. You have an older mother, 2 daughters, and a son. Or sorry, 3 daughters and a son. And the house that they're in is airtight, so it's completely sealed off. So they're safe from the toxin. And it starts off with us just learning about their day-to-day life. Because the house is completely sealed, they have to raise plants. So basically, the whole house is like a giant greenhouse. So there's just plants everywhere. And they have to be constantly regulating it and making sure that the plants are fed and that they're healthy, because that's their air supply. That's what's feeding them the fresh air. And a mysterious stranger appears on their property, and he's injured, and they end up inviting him in, and it causes a lot of problems. There's some interesting twists and turns that I won't like even begin to touch on here, but the world building is absolutely incredible. This is written and directed by Kelsey Egan, by the way. Incredible world building, like just awesome. The production design, incredible. Like the suits that they wear have, like, everything has this kind of like Victorian vibe to it. So it doesn't distinguish like when this takes place. We don't really know. There's like modern looking gas masks, but then there's like a lot of things look very, very old. Like if I had to guess, I would say maybe like early 1900s or somewhere around there, like World War One era. But I mean, really, who knows? It could be any time. So awesome world building, awesome production design, like the costuming, all of that is really great. Where it goes in its final act, I think, is really hit or miss. I think a lot of people might have trouble just reconciling the way that this movie ends, but I thought it was pretty solid. So I would recommend keeping an eye out for Glasshouse, and I think that you're really going to like it because it's just loaded with lush greenery, flowers and plants everywhere.
Love it. I saw the Netflix horror movie. I guess it's a horror movie. I guess it's more of a thriller. Intrusion, the Frida Pinto vehicle.
I didn't.
It came out this year. Don't. There's no need to.
Yeah, it didn't look good to me.
No, it's not good. I mean, it has. They kind of flipped the whole home invasion aspect of the movie, where yes, there is a home invasion, but more so the home invasion just gets Frida Pinto character to start to question, like, why were they invading her house?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, what's going on here? It's not really the home invasion. There's not a whole lot of tension there, which is the thing that really sucks about this movie is that it's really bland. There's not a whole lot of tension. Like, the execution of it is just absolutely meh. Like, there's just not a whole lot going on. Like, the story is like slightly interesting, you know, and some of the twists that it takes are, you know, marginally surprising, I guess, maybe. But everything is just humdrum, you know, and it's just overall, just no.
Okay. Well, yeah, it didn't look very good to me, to be honest. That's Intrusion. That's on Netflix. And the next one I saw is called Name Above Title. I believe this is going to be... I know that this is a night stream, I'm pretty sure. So you'll be able to check this one out. This is a Portuguese thriller. The kind of interesting hook with this one is that there's no dialogue, so it's a completely dialogue-free feature film. Now, it is only 59 minutes, so it's in and out. It's in and out. It has a really strong opening, which is a 3 or 4 minute single take shot of this woman at a party. It's like a rooftop party, and she ends up committing suicide during this party. So really strong opening, and then it immediately cuts to this serial killer who is like claiming his next victim. And it's all shot. I mean, this movie's gorgeous. It is shot in a giallo style, so it very, very much is influenced by 70s giallo. It does take place now, so it is a modern movie, but it's shot on film. It's in a 4:3 aspect ratio. Like, everything about it, the way that people dress and stuff feels vintage. And the music, it's also got this like kind of goblin-esque like synth soundtrack. So very, very much giallo infused. Basically what happens is right after this serial killer kills his next victim, he happens to be walking down the street where the young woman lands who kills herself. She jumps off the roof. And when she lands, he walks over to her and sort of embraces her. And she whispers something in his ear, and then he kisses her. And this is all caught on camera. You know, everybody's like got their phones out and they're recording it, and the video goes viral. Like, people just trying to figure out, like, who is this guy? Like, what does she whisper? Like, what was that kiss all about? And all of this stuff. And he sort of becomes famous, and it progresses from there. I like the premise. I like how it starts. It has a really strong, like, first act. But where it goes, I just really wasn't into it. And the final act introduces this like sort of, I don't know if I want to spoil too much, but there's a little bit of an allegory that it proposes at the end that absolutely did not work for me at all. And so unfortunately, I don't think it sticks the landing, but everything else about this is like basically firing on all cylinders. Like, it looks amazing. The score is awesome. I like the dialogue free aspect of it, the no dialogue. Actually, I think was really cool the way that they did it. But yeah, unfortunately, just didn't like that ending. Didn't quite stick the landing for me.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's called name above title.
The only other thing I'm going to mention is Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1978. Philip Kaufman.
Ah, okay.
Finally watched this.
The 78
so I finally
version.
watched the 78 version. You got crazy cast here. Donald Sutherland, Brooke Adams, Jeff Goldblum, Leonard Nimoy, Veronica Cartwright in there. So this is really good, as you can imagine. This is just great stuff. And the thing that I like most about this is a lot of it is just like Donald Sutherland, Brooke Adams, Jeff Goldblum, and Veronica Cartwright running around San Francisco, like in the night. It's just them like running from things as more and more people are being replaced, you know? And the fact that Philip Kaufman was able to make that like extremely visually interesting and captivating, with playing with scope and with playing with shadows and just so many different angles going on here. I mean, you got camera angles of I mean, just every which way. You got slanted like 45 degrees. You got like a complete sideways view. You got all sorts of stuff going on. And it's like that throughout, you know, just like people popping their heads through doorways. And it's like, okay, let's just make this visually interesting, you know? And it's just that kept me captivated throughout. And then on top of that, you have a great story and a great cast. Like, I mean, what more do you want? And now I finally understand that picture I always see of Donald Sutherland pointing with his mouth open.
Yeah.
Like, that makes sense to me now.
The classic Sutherland meme.
Which is a weird place to be now as a movie watcher. Like, as soon as that scene was set up and he's like walking and I kind of like noticed the background and what he was wearing, I was like, oh shit, this is the infamous Twitter thing that I always see.
It's coming. Yeah. Nice. Okay. I just have a couple brief ones that I can mention here. One is the Timekeepers of Eternity. Now, I didn't really know anything about this going into it. Like, I knew nothing. Like, all I knew is I read a brief synopsis, and then I start watching it, and it's this black and white movie, and it looks really interesting. And I'm like, man, how did they do this? This looks really interesting. Like, the style. It's like black and white, but it's got this kind of grainy look. And then I start noticing the actors. And I'm like, wait a minute, like, this movie, either these people haven't aged at all, or this is like an older movie. And it turned out that the Timekeepers of Eternity, like, I realized this after like 10 minutes, but it is an experimental, like, re-edit of the movie The Langoliers, which was a TV movie from, I believe, like 95. Great cast, by the way, in that. And the way that it is presented, the director, he's a Greek director. His name is Aristeltis Maragos. He printed out every single frame of the movie, The Langoliers, on a printer, black and white, like a LaserJet, HP LaserJet printer or something. And he put it back together. He re-edited the movie using these printed sheets of paper, and it is freaking awesome. Like, it is so good. What he does is he'll use like folds and tears and like overlaps and stuff like that to accentuate whatever's happening on screen. So if like somebody's yelling, for instance, the paper will get like rumpled, like it'll like get all crumpled right around the person's mouth to indicate that, like, to accentuate that they're like yelling. Or basically the re-edit of this movie focuses on Bronson Pinchot's character as he goes gradually more insane. If you're not familiar with the plot of this movie, it's about a flight where the passengers discover that almost everybody on the flight has just vanished. And luckily, there is one of the people who survived, who remained, and he was a pilot, so he was able to land the plane. But when they land, they go into the airport, and everybody in the airport is gone too, and it's just them left. And they need to figure out what happened, and all the while they hear what sounds like a monster or like a group of monsters making their way closer to where they're at. So they need to like figure out what's going on before these creatures get to them. And the re-edit of this really focuses on Bronson Pinchot as this like douchey businessman as he slowly loses his mind. And it's so fascinating. It's an experimental film, so it's not something that I think is going to work for everybody, but I thought that it was incredibly unique, and I highly recommend it. It's only 64 minutes, so if you remember this being a Stephen King adaptation and a TV movie, the original one was 3 hours long, so he distills everything down to 60 minutes, and I mean, it's something else. So highly recommend The Timekeepers of Eternity. I think that you'll also appreciate this one, Kevin, just for the uniqueness of it.
Oh, I'm so on board.
It looks like, when I first started watching it, I'm like, man, it looks like this is an FMV game from the 90s. That's what it looks like. You remember like FMV games were like super compressed and they looked so bad and like grainy? Like that's sort of what this whole movie looks like. It looks like a cutscene of a 90s FMV game. And I'm 100% in it. The last one I'll mention is one called Samuel's Travels. This is a Latvian film that is something of a dark comedy fairy tale about this guy who I believe he's supposed to be from America, and he goes to Latvia in search of his father. I'm sorry, he's Belgian. I just saw that in the synopsis. I don't know if they even say that in the movie, but anyway, he is searching for his father who he's never met, and he ends up in this like little village, and he ends up hitting a pig with his car. Now the pig doesn't die, the pig survives. He puts the pig in his back seat, and then he happens upon this woman in the forest, and he's like, okay, well, if this is your pig, I'll give you guys a ride home. Sorry for hitting your pig with my car. So he takes the woman and the pig back to their farm, and she gives him a drink, and it turns out that she drugged him, and he wakes up and he's chained in the barn, and it turns out that this family decides that they want to basically keep him as a slave to take care of their pigs. And so the whole movie is him just chained up in this farm, learning to take care of pigs. And he forms this like not weird, but this bond with these pigs. And they like start to sort of communicate with him and like follow him around. And he becomes like the leader of these pigs. It's a very bizarre movie. It doesn't always work, but overall, I think that there's something undeniably charming about it, even though it is often slightly grotesque in like what happens. So it's definitely unique though. So that's why I mention it. It's not something that you're likely gonna have felt like you've seen before. So I think I would give it a recommendation. Again, it's called Samuel's Travels, and it's a weird one.
Yeah, sounds like it.
But it's funny. Like it's funny. Weird, but funny. That kind of like slightly absurdist. I think you would like it.
I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah, I think you'd like it.
I just read about him, and I think like his last feature film or something, and I was like, oh, this looks pretty interesting.
I said that was the last one, but I just have to mention this other one.
Make it quick.
I know. I'll make it quick. I promise. It's called The Sadness. This is directed by Robert Jabaz. This is a Taiwanese film, sort of a zombie movie, but not really. If you've read the comic book Crossed, it's pretty much an adaptation of Crossed. If you're not familiar, what that is about is this disease that infects people and makes them basically just act on their most like sadistic carnal desires. And that's what The Sadness is. So it takes place like after a pandemic, which they don't say. I mean, it's very clearly COVID. They don't say it in the movie, but it is 100% clearly COVID. And what happens is you have like anti-vaxxers and stuff like that, anti-maskers, and people who are, rallying against the vaccine and all this stuff. And then what happens is it mutates. The virus mutates, and what it causes people to do who get infected is basically go nuts and only act on their carnal desires. So they're just like murdering people, sexually assaulting people, and it's horrific. And you have an idea, again, if you've read the comic book Crossed, you have an idea of just how depraved people can be, at least in these fictional worlds. Hopefully not the real world, but probably the real world. And it is really crazy. It's probably one of the craziest movies you'll see all year. It is over the top, gory, batshit insane. Like, they pulled no punches in this movie. It's pretty incredible. So if you're into like crazy, violent, gory movies, The Sadness is one to check out. It is absolutely bonkers, and I highly recommend it. All right, let's take a look at what we have in theaters. No Time to Die, 007. That's the biggie.
Ooh, yeah.
What do you think about this? Are you excited?
No.
Me neither. Most people are really jazzed up about it. Daniel Craig's final role as Bond here, but I'm just not. I don't know, man. I'm just not a huge James Bond fan to begin with. So
Same here.
I've tried so many times to get into this series, and I just can't. Like, I don't know why. That's not to say I haven't liked a few of the entries, but it's just I'm not as big of a nut as a lot of people are.
No, it doesn't hook me.
Yeah, same. And I forget. Like, I find them to be very forgettable. Like, I'll just forget what happens in them like right after I see it. Either way, I'm not going to see this in the theater. I'll wait until it's on VOD and check it out then. We also have Lamb. This is going to be a limited release, I believe. And This is the Icelandic thriller with Noomi Rapace, the horror movie, folk horror, A24.
Oh boy, watch out.
Yeah, it's about I believe it's about a woman who gives birth to a like lamb child, like a half lamb, half human, maybe.
Interesting.
Either way, it takes place in Iceland, so I'll check it out. That's pretty much it for theaters. On VOD this week, we have on the 5th, Val, which is I believe a horror comedy from the looks of it. We got Spring Blossom. This looks like a coming of age story, perhaps. We have Saving Sloane. What is this? Oh, it's another powerful coming of age tale.
Oh.
We have Pharma Bro. This is the one about Martin Shkreli. Fuck that guy. Don't need to see a doc about him.
No.
I know all I need to know about that asshole. The only thing I want to know is when that Wu-Tang album is going to drop.
I feel like it would have already,
There was something about it, like the US government has it now or something.
Oh, those fuckers.
I just saw a headline recently about the album and like that he had to turn it over or something. So I don't know. Maybe we'll hear it. I do remember that he did a live stream one night and played part of a track, and it sounded cool. But anyway, also on the 5th we have Christmas Freak. It's a comedy about a guy who just is obsessed with Christmas. It looks pretty bad. We got the Amityville Moon. I'm assuming because Amityville's in the title, that's a horror movie.
Please tell me they go to space.
I don't think so. It says that
Oh.
that two people are trying to escape from a church home that holds them captive.
Yeah, werewolf.
And one of them is slaughtered by a vicious semi-human creature.
Mm.
So, yeah, it looks like a werewolf thing. We got Cleaning Up the Town, Remembering Ghostbusters. That's a Ghostbusters doc about the original. We have The Mutation, which I can only assume is another horror movie. After a deadly experiment on a rat goes wrong, the mutated rat has been let loose in the city, and a group of detectives are on the hunt for the beast.
Wonderful.
It'd be a cool idea for a movie is like Crypto Zoo, like that movie Crypto Zoo, but just have it be live action and just have it be like a group, like a team of cryptozoologists. And the whole premise, I mean, it could be a TV show too, actually. The whole premise is that they just hunt down different of these, like, cryptids, these mythical creatures and stuff. That'd be a really cool idea.
I'd be 100% on board.
Yeah. Probably work really good as a TV show.
Yes.
Each week, they're hunting down a different one, and then there's like a through line. X-Files, basically, is what I'm describing at this point.
Yeah.
On the 6th, we have VHS 94. That's going to be on Shudder. And then on the 8th, we have Operation Curveball. I think it tells the grotesque, at times even surreal, true story of how the Iraq War was started based on nothing but fake intelligence and the involvement of the German government. All right, there you go. Silent Hours is coming out. 3 women are brutally murdered in 4 nights. Private Detective John Duvall, ex-lieutenant commander in Naval Intelligence, finds himself the prime suspect.
Oh, that's not good.
Nope. Don't want to. That's a bad idea. Don't want to be involved in that. We got Survive the Game, which I believe. Oh wait. Yeah, I think this is like a remake. Maybe I'm thinking of something else, but I'm pretty sure that there's a remake of Surviving the Game that's coming out. But I don't know if this is it. Either way, this is like a Bruce Willis action movie. It looks pretty bad. We got The Manor. This is going to be on Amazon Prime. It's a malevolent force preys upon the residents of a sleepy nursing home. It's a gothic tale of terror with a modern twist.
Not good.
I believe this might be one of the Blumhouse movies. So on Amazon Prime, there's like all through October, there's all these Blumhouse movies that are dropping. Like 2 of them dropped this past weekend, and then there's more that are dropping this weekend. I think that this is one of those. I haven't seen them yet. I heard they're pretty good.
Huh.
American Insurrection. Fear is their weapon.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It's after a powerful militia seizes control of the U.S. A group of friends attempt to escape the escalating violence and oppression. Sounds like freaking... What the hell is that movie that came out in like 84? What was that movie called?
I don't know.
I think like was Josh Brolin in it?
Sure.
They remade it. Red Dawn. Red Dawn is what I'm thinking of. And then there was another one. It was like an Australian movie that had the exact same premise, where it's like a bunch of young 20-somethings gotta save the world from an insurrection. Or
but
America,
I thought Red Dawn was Russians.
Yeah, Red Dawn. Yeah, but it's the same concept. Like in Red Dawn, Russia invaded the U.S. and took it over. In this movie, it's a powerful militia seizing control of the U.S.
Yeah, we gotta fight your own people in this one. That's the twist.
BFD.
Changed it.
We have Madres on Amazon Prime. We got South of Heaven with Jason Sudeikis, Evangeline Lilly, Shea Wiggum. I'm interested in this one. It looks like a different. It looks like a different role for Sudeikis, and I'm all for it. We'll have a review for this up on the site, by the way. The Secret of Sinchani. I think that's a thriller, maybe? No, horror. That's a horror one. We got Jacinta. It's on Hulu. I believe that is a documentary. We got Detention. That is the Thai horror movie that is based on the video game, the old video game Detention.
Huh.
Yeah, I'm all about this one. I'm gonna be checking this out very soon, perhaps even after we record this. We got The Gig Is Up. That's a documentary about like Uber and the gig economy. We got Vengeance Is Mine. Looks like some kind of thriller, maybe. And that's about it for VOD. Blu-ray this week. Looks like the Halloween movies are coming out. There's a new release of those on 4K. Looks like almost all of them. I don't know if all of them. It looks like 1 through 5 are coming out in 4K. I'm not seeing any of the other ones listed on here. American Psycho is coming out on 4K. Elvira's Haunted Hills is getting a collector's edition. That's from 2001. Night Shift from 1982 is coming out. The Time Machine from 2002. Hunt for Red October is getting a 4K release. There's a Don Knotts collection coming out. 5 films.
Wow.
Looks like this is a straight to Walgreens type of release. Let's see. The Victim from 1972. The Relic from 1997. Space Jam: A New Legacy is coming out on 4K. Trick or Treats from 1982. It's pretty much it. What about Criterion's?
It's just important that you singled out the Don Knotts collection.
Mm-hmm.
That way everyone can Christmas shop for their grandmas.
Yeah.
We got one, and that's Onibaba from 1964. The Japanese folktale.
Nice.
Getting a Blu-ray update.
Okay, cool. All right, I think that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. You can send us your questions and topics to podcast@filmpulse.net. You can follow us on Twitter @filmpulsenet and @filmpulsekevin. And if you have a minute, consider reviewing us on iTunes. That would be very much appreciated. For Kevin Rakestraw, my name's Adam Patterson. We'll see you next week.